This episode is brought to you by The Pip Box, vegan and cruelty-free beauty. Hi and welcome to the first episode of I've been told to go gluten-free, what am I going to cook? If you've watched any of my other videos, you may have seen me talk briefly about the condition that I've got, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So it's a connective tissue disorder that affects everything, really, all of the soft squishy parts of my body. Mega. I've not really had much luck with doctors, so I've started seeing a functional medicine practitioner just to see if I can start getting a handle on some of the symptoms. And she's recommended that I try and go gluten-free to see if that helps. The line of thinking is that because the Ehlers-Danlos has got an inflammatory component to it in my body, gluten is also an inflammatory and in some people can trigger an autoimmune response. So I'm going to try it for a few months and see if there is like a discernible improvement in symptoms. If there's not, then it's back on the gluten. And it means that there's no wash the flour seitan, really. And I'm really, really upset about it because that stuff is amazing. Like the ribs, the chicken, the steaks, none of that for me. But then it does open up some avenues for exploration. I've been having a look in different supermarkets at what gluten-free products they've got, and I found some ready-made puff pastry. So this is gluten-free and vegan, and I'm going to test drive it today. I'm just making a very quick and simple little pie. Well, big pie. I'm adding a tablespoon of sunflower oil to my pan, and then I'm just going to rough chop 4 large red onions. So I cut the tail end off and then leave the root, just it makes it a bit easier to then chop. Split that in half. I'm going to do these in a fairly rough chop, fairly large dice, but you know, feel free to do it whatever size you like. And then into the pan. Give everything a stir, get it coated in oil. I'm going to put a bit of salt in the onions just to help pull some of the moisture out. So when we get these nice and brown, and look! Hello, Cleo! She's all squinty because of the onions like I am. Let them sweat down for a few minutes and I'll finally chop up some rosemary. I'm just going to pull the leaves off the main stalk. And these make really good kebab skewers as well. And then just go over with a knife. Just remember I've got this one, so I'm going to use that. I think it's called a Mezzaluna. It's quite a punchy herb, so you don't need lots of it. You could also use marjoram, savoury, thyme, anything like that. And rosemary is quite a woody one, so which is why I'm doing it so fine. Once the onions have got a good bit of colour on it, then we're going to start adding in some extra bits and pieces. I didn't stir it often enough, so it has caught a little bit on the bottom, but it's okay. I'm squeezing 3 cloves of garlic. You can do the garlic however you like. Crush it, slice it, mince it. I just like using the press because it's faster. And then brush in the rosemary. Give everything a good stir. Let that cook down for a couple of minutes. I'm going to add some port into mine. Obviously you can keep it alcohol free if you don't want. Just use a bit of stock maybe. Or you can use red wine, or a stout would be really nice, you know, like a really dark beer. The reason I like port is that you can open it and then it's fine for months, whereas wine, you've got to use it within, you know, like a week. It's like a bottle of port and a bottle of vermouth. Vermouth is the kind of white one, so if you want something white winey. I'm going to guzzle in about 50 mils, about 3 tablespoons or so. Just give it a stir and you can loosen off some of the stuck on bits. I'm using 2 different types of mushrooms. So I've got 300 grams of chestnut mushrooms and I think that's 250 of portobello. Use whatever you like. The more expensive they are, the tastier they're probably going to be, but you know, I wouldn't go for your super deluxe mushrooms in something like this. It's just not worth it. Now you can chop mushrooms however you like, but I just think tearing them is just as easy as anything else. Let's stir through with just the portobellos in, and then do the same with the chestnut mushrooms. Let that cook down for a couple of minutes until it starts releasing all of the mushroom juice. I also found some gluten-free gravy granules. So I'm going to put those in as a kind of saucy, thickener, unctuous loveliness. If you can't find gravy granules, you can use like beef flavoured stock and then maybe some cornstarch to thicken it. Or you could do some other kind of brown flavours, so cocoa powder or even dark chocolate, some mushroom powder, Marmite, soy sauce, all of those kind of things, just to boost that kind of deep, savoury sort of flavour. But the gravy granules are just a great shortcut. So you can see all this liquid that comes out of it, and that's just moisture from the mushrooms. Normally, if I'm doing a bolognese or something, I'll cook that out, but I'm going to use that as the sauce with the gravy granules. I'm going to add in about half a teaspoon of Marmite, so this has just got a really salty, deep flavour to it. I'm going to use some of the roast mushroom powder that I made with the intent of flavouring beef type products. Oh, the irony. So this is mushroom roasted with treacle, beef flavoured stock, cacao, Henderson's relish, lots of deep dark flavours. So I'm going to put some of that in. If you haven't got this, just use mushroom powder, regular mushroom powder, or you can use just dried mushrooms like porcini or shiitake. Just chop them up. You can even rehydrate them if you want. So just sprinkle that in. A little bit of black pepper. I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of dried mixed herbs. You can put more rosemary in or some bay leaves, that kind of thing. Start adding in the gravy granules. I'll do 2 to start with. So that's the texture of them. I've got another package of fun for my friends over at the Pip Box. This is their Beauty SOS Edit. I've got some anti-pollution vitamin C booster, coffee face scrub, natural deodorant bar, intimate wash, and then I have a bottle of nail varnish. You can buy from the Pip Box in 2 different ways. You can either buy just one-off boxes or sign up to the subscription service, and they'll send you a box through the door every month. And it's a little surprise and a bit of pampering. Sometimes it's things that you never knew you needed. There's all sorts of stuff in there. Head over to thepipbox.co.uk and use code Rachel25 to get 25% off your order. To bulk this out a bit, I'm going to use pearled barley. This isn't gluten-free, but I've just got so much stuff that I need to use in the house before doing it properly that I'm just trying to wind the stocks down of everything. This is 1 cup or 200 grams of pearled barley, and then the same of the puy lentils. And all I did was cover them with loads of water, cold water, bring it up to the boil, and then simmer it for set my timer for 20 minutes, and then every 2 minutes keep trying it, and you just want it to be tender, no kind of crunchy inside. And I also put some beef flavoured stock in there just to boost up the savoury umami richness. And when I drained both of those, I kept the liquid, so I'm going to pour in a little bit of that as well into there. You can just use stock or water for this, that's fine. Saucy. Pour in the puy lentils. You can use any kind of lentils, but I just like the puy ones because they are a bit meatier. They've got quite a dense texture. And then the pearl barley. If you are gluten-free, maybe use some wild rice in this, that would be quite nice. Good mix. And I'm preheating the oven to 200. Just check on your pastry what it says, what temperature. So I'm just going to check the flavour on this. It's really rich, delicious. Touch more salt. This is going to be very kind of your flavours, so just do a little bit, add, test, and another tablespoon of the granules. But again, this is totally rough and ready. You don't need to follow it specifically every single gram. In place of an egg wash to go on top of the pastry, I'm just going to mix up some maple syrup and oat milk, just to give that really golden brown, lovely pie sort of vibe. And a touch of soy sauce as well, just because I need to use it up. A lot of soy sauce has got gluten in it. So I'm going to pack this into a large Pyrex dish. And then get that nice and flat. This is the size of the pastry sheet, which is going to be just about perfect for the size of this. So I'm going to lay this over, trim it off. I'd advise trimming it before you lay it on. Okay. And then sort of nestle the pastry snugly over the top. To give it a bit of decoration on top, I'm just going to cut some like cross hatching. So score it lightly. And then go back the other way. And then I'm going to cut a couple of little steam holes. That just helps steam escape so it doesn't puff up too much underneath. I might do some sort of little design with the offcuts. I'm just going to roll that out a tiny bit. And then I've got this, not sure what that's called, but I'm going to make some make some little shapes like that. And then maybe do just a very little leaves. So I'll brush the wash all over the top of it first. Now I've got a horrible feeling that this probably wasn't a good thing to do, because I can see that the pastry is going sort of shiny and a bit wet looking. So I wonder if it's melting. Next it's got the hot filling underneath, and then lay the leaves on top. Do some little round ones, they can be berries. Give them a wash as well. And I'll put this in the oven for probably 15-20 minutes. So, as we can see, the puff pastry hasn't puffed in any way. It's gone, I don't know, maybe a little bit like a spring roll wrapper, that sort of texture, but less crispy. So I will write to the company, Just Roll, and I'll ask them if they know what happened there. It could be that because the filling was hot when I put the pastry on, maybe that's done something to the composition. Maybe I should have chilled everything down and then done it. Shouldn't affect the flavour though, so I'll give it a go. Have a chomp on that. The flavour of the filling is fantastic. There's some really deep, rich flavours, but then I'm only using, relatively basic ingredients. It hasn't got tons of stuff in there, but each one still works and brings something a little bit different. Plenty of variety of texture as well, which for me, texture is a big thing. I need to have lots of different things going on rather than just one sort of type of texture. So you've got the sweet softness of the onions, and then that kind of bouncy juiciness from the mushrooms. The barley gives it a nice kind of tender sort of bounciness. The lentils have also got a nice firm bite to them as well. And then obviously the gravy kind of surrounding everything just marries it all together really nicely. Despite the lack of puff, the pastry does actually taste quite good. So I probably will try it again and maybe use it. Maybe this just isn't a great application for it. So perhaps doing something like the raspberry and lemon butter puffs, that kind of thing. So you bake it separately, that would probably work. Or even, I wonder if I chill the filling down and then maybe make little kind of pasties, little individual pies. So it's pastry on like a pocket of pastry. That might work quite well as well. So if you're curious about what you can do with all these gluten-free substitutes, hit subscribe and tap the bell icon. Let's learn together.